puddle.
Hello everybody, welcome back to part 3 of What If Deku Saved a Goddess. As before we get into our video, let's say thank you guys so much for supporting the series. It means so much to me that you guys actually seem to really love this. And also I'm planning to do actual daily uploads this time because I'm pre-recording a shit ton of videos this week. So I'm going to try my best to actually pre-record these. And also on my second channel I'm doing voiceover records. Basically I'm letting text-to-speech take over my videos on that channel, so I'm not actually breaking my voice box when I'm actually doing these long videos. So thank you guys so much for the love and support. Thank you all for watching, and let's continue where we last left off from part 2. As All Might shouted at Bakugo telling him to stop, but Bakugo did not listen. As Bakugo was just about to fire his pin out of his gauntlet, Izuku heard a giant twig, almost like, snap into the air. As Izuku's eardrums were about to pop from the amount of pressure Izuku was putting on his body from actually trying to push himself to try and stop Bakugo just in time. As Izuku rushed towards Bakugo, firing an explosion at him, but Izuku aimed all the way up as Izuku breaks Bakugo's gauntlet in two, like what he did in Season 5, or Sugar Rush did in Season 5, Episode 9, as Izuku managed to break Bakugo's gauntlet, making Bakugo knock on his ass. "You fucking Deku!" Bakugo said, throwing an explosion at Izuku's face, charring Izuku's skin. As Izuku managed to actually still stay up from it, but he was still dazed from it. As All Might rushed down there to see if everyone was okay. As the moment he arrived, he saw Izuku and Bakugo and everyone else actually walking out of the building, who was actually on that team at that very moment. As everyone arrived back out and actually went to Recovery Girl's healing office, or just her office in general. As the moment Izuku arrived there, he instantly sat down and almost collapsed from exhaustion. The same with Elizabeth, Bakugo, and his teammate. As everyone was well rested and healed all the way up and got all their stamina halfway back. As Izuku and everyone else both went back to class to grab all their stuff, until Kirishima actually introduced himself, very happy I would say he was, as Kirishima would have just tried to shake Izuku's hand very vigorously and said, "I'm Ejiro Kirishima, it's nice to meet you," he said. Same with Mina Ashido, Tenya Ida and everyone else on there. As everyone else arrived back home for where they originally stayed, as we're going to skip until the next day, everyone else was sitting in class until Aizawa told everyone to actually get downstairs, get changed and get onto the bus. "We're going to have a little field trip," Shoto Aizawa said. "What about our parents? Are they notified about this?" "Yeah, we notified them a couple of days in advance. We told them to keep quiet about it for the sake of like you being excited or something like that or other," Shoto said with a big grin on his face. As everyone else went down to actually get changed into their hero outfits. As Izuku's hero outfit would stay the same like last episode, or this episode I would say, because it wasn't heavily damaged like canon. As everyone else both went down and arrived onto the bus. As everyone had their long conversations on the bus, as until Sue brought up that Midoriya's quirk kind of resembles All Might. As Izuku would have waved his hands frantically in the air, saying, "No it doesn't. What's he on about?" Izuku said, till Suyu interrupted again. "Well, he creates wind pressure with his fists, and so do you. So I'm just wondering if you're the secret son of All Might?" Sue said, very questionable. No, I'm not, Suyu. Oh, Asui, sorry. I'm not son of All Might. If I was, I would be cool, but I'm not," Izuku said, questioning her reality. As Izuku and everyone else actually arrived at the USJ with Aizawa telling everyone to get off to the bus. As everyone arrived at the bottom step of the USJ, as everyone just stared at the big platform known as this big continent of the building. As everyone just started to walk in until Araka noticed a white bubbly tile woman. If anyone's seen like the actual driving advert that they use for tires, it kind of reminds me of that. I'll put a picture on screen if I can find it. It's basically a UK advert. As Izuku looked at her saying, Araka, you alright? Izuku said, staring at her. It's that's 13, the number 13 hero. I can't remember her actual standpoint, I'm just saying that for a laugh. As Araka just stared at him saying, "You don't know who 13 is? She's the hero that actually went to space," Araka said, ranting and raving like canon. As 13 was talking to the students about everything until Aizawa walked up to her and asked for a private conversation. Until 13 holded up 3 fingers, telling that All Might will be over his limit today. As everything else would have gone like canon, with Kirishima actually going to the bottom of the stairway and telling, "Yo, what the hell? We're fighting fake villains as well?" Kirishima said to everyone else. "No, those aren't fake villains, they're real villains, everyone get back now," Aizawa said, pushing everyone back. As everything would have happened like canon, with everyone being teleported to different areas of the USJ. Mainly Midoriya and Elizabeth being teleported to the same place, almost exactly the same place. As before Elizabeth hit the water, she used her wings to levitate above ground, with Izuku using 50% one for all, or at least 20, to try and actually swim back to the mainland. But he saw Tsuyu jumping onto the boat, which Izuku followed and jumped straight onto the boat, leaving a decent sized shockwave behind him. Izuku managed to actually clip onto the boat, same with Elizabeth and Tsuyu, both making up a plan to actually get off the boat successfully. As Tsuyu would have just said, "I'll jump straight to the actual land with my frog legs," she said. "But I can fly," Elizabeth said. "We better go with the safe approach. The more speed we have, the better chance we have on actually getting to the mainland. So if Tsuyu can lift her legs up fast enough and literally force enough air out, she can literally lift Elizabeth up to the air and literally use her wings to actually glide faster to the actual main areas." As Izuku would have to do this plan, and everyone would have agreed to this, as Izuku and everyone would have gone to their stance to actually pull this off. 3, 2, 1, "Do it now," Izuku said, jumping off. "Delaware, smash!" Izuku said, shouting at 50% of his power, flying it straight into the ocean or the little lake in the USJ, making a giant shockwave just like canon, destroying most of the actual water and terrain, making the water collapse in on itself, making most of the villains pass out from actual lung indigestion of too much water hopping into their lungs. As Izuku, Elizabeth and Tsuyu both arrived on the actual ground, as they both saw Shigaraki, Nomu and everyone else just like canon being crushed into the ground, with Aizawa's body being completely destroyed just like canon. As Shigaraki would have noticed the kid from Tsuyu just yeeping, seeing the amount of blood that was coming out of the skinny Aizawa. As Aizawa would have tried to actually try and get up, but the moment he got up, he got his face slammed into the ground by the Nomu's full force. As the Nomus punched Aizawa, Shigaraki would have noticed the people like canon and tried to rush forward to them. But Ida, before all this happened, managed to get out just in time, thanks to actually Uraraka and everyone else just like canon helping out. As Ida would have rushed out to actually go to the high school, as we come back to Izuku's point of view. As the Shigaraki was just about to touch Izuku, a giant boom was heard at the front exit or the front door, to see All Might wasn't smiling. "You goddamn here villains, I am here to save you," All Might said, without smiling, as All Might instantly blitzed everyone, instantly grabbing Izuku, Aizawa, Elizabeth and so on, and instantly rushed back to the top of the stairs, as All Might would have told them to actually get out of here as soon as possible. Izuku wouldn't have listened and actually tried to see if he could help All Might, but All Might just shut him off, saying, "Young Midoriya, get up there now, before I lose my patience," All Might said. "Yes, All Might, sir," Izuku said as he grabbed Elizabeth and Izuku and so on, and actually blitzed all the way upstairs in just a minimum amount of speed. As the fight with the Nomu and All Might would have kept like canon, with All Might being stuck in between the Nomu's grasp, as the Nomu would have tried to actually squeeze All Might into the portal, but Izuku would have saw this and blitzed through everything at 50%. As the moment Izuku arrived at the Nomu, Izuku punched the Nomu straight in the arm, severing the Nomu's arm from his entire body, as the Nomu would have screamed out in pain, but had his arm regenerated moments later. As Izuku was actually planning on hitting it again, All Might pushed him out the way, as the Nomu swung, creating the same amount of wind pressure that All Might's mighty smash would have done, like cannon, flinging the Nomu out of the way, that type of thing. As Izuku and everyone else saw the power of the Nomu being a little bit shooken, but Todoroki threw a giant amount of ice at the Nomu, freezing it almost completely, as Shoto would have shouted, "All Might, Izuku, hit him with everything!" Shoto shouted, as Izuku and All Might didn't waste any time and charged up 100% in both of their arms. "United, States of ya, smash!" they both shouted in unison, flinging the Nomu out of the USJ at triple times the speed. Just remember, these two punches are as strong as All Might's prime combined, of course. As the moment the Nomu flung out the way, the wind pressure that was caused through the mighty punch of All Might and Izuku would have caused massive amounts of destruction around the area, destroying a little bits of craters in the USJ, making one giant one in the center where Izuku and All Might were standing. As the moment that punch was thrown, Izuku instantly collapsed down to the floor because of the pain in his left arm. "Damn it," Izuku said as he blacked out. As we skip a couple of days when Izuku woke up into the hospital. As Izuku actually woke up, he was greeted with Elizabeth, let's just say that, laying on his bed. As the moment Izuku moved around, Elizabeth woke up and started to hug him. "Izuku, I'm so glad you're awake," she said, crying into his chest. "Everything's okay. What's up, Elizabeth?" Izuku said, smiling at her. As little tears came falling around her face, as Izuku lifted up his good arm and wiped those tears away like they were nothing to him. As a couple of minutes later, 2 knocks was heard at the door. As the door was sliding open, he actually was greeted with Elizabeth's parents, All Might, Aizawa, and Nezu, as they all walked into the room and sat down next to Izuku, as everyone explained to them what was going on and how everything was going so far. As Aizawa gave Izuku a little sheet of paper to actually tell him what was wrong with his arm and everything, as Nezu just explained to him, "So Izuku, you'll be having the rest of the 2 weeks off from school because of the USG attack. We need to do some background research on what actually happened into the building. Once we figured this out, we're going to host a little sports festival, okay?" Izuku would have just took this information to heart and would have just nodded his head frankly. "So, will you get over your training then, young Midoriya?" All Might said. "Well, I was thinking about actually training with Elizabeth for the rest of the week," Izuku said, laughing, as Elizabeth would have just gave him a little, what do you call it, pinch? Yeah, pinch on his cheek, saying, "Baka!" As those 2 weeks of training would begin, as Izuku's body started to grow and more muscular on his back as well, as Elizabeth would have got more and more eye candy to look at, let's just say that. As Elizabeth and Izuku was both walking down into the UA campus building to actually get changed into their sportswear. As they both arrived there, as they both got changed, as they met everyone on the bus to actually go to the actual sports festival arena. As everything there would have gone like canon, as Izuku in this timeline would have actually gone up to the stage and actually introduced himself as the class rep or the class representative. Just remember, I completely forgot at the start to actually tell you what's happened. Everything would have picked like canon, with Momoya, Rozu, and Izuku actually being the head and that so on and so forth of the year group, basically. As Izuku would have told everyone to go plus ultra and never give up on their dreams, he said with a smile. "Even if you're quirkless, you can still become a hero no matter what you do." Izuku said, starting to giggle with laughter a little bit to try and show everyone more confidence in themselves, even if they're quirkless. As it began with the actual racing of the actual people, as Izuku got into his stance and charged up 20% one for all right at the start. 3, 2, 1, beep! As the duet noise went off, as everyone started to run straight out of the actual areas. of perspective areas, let's just say that, as they all rushed through frantically, getting all the way to the actual first area of the pointers. And Izuku just smashed through them all and started to run faster, faster, and faster, all the way until he actually got to the first exit of the area. As Izuku came across the 0 pointers, Izuku used 6% of his 1-for-all to actually jump building to building until he got to a 0 pointer, using a 50% smash to smash its head clean through, making the 0 pointer fall over and creating massive amounts of wind pressure surrounding Izuku's body, making the wind actually blow up the actual other 0 pointers surrounding that one. Izuku threw one more mighty smash to actually direct himself like a new Manchester smash that Izuku or All Might actually used during the fight with Bakugo, Izuku and All Might during season 3 or 2. Can't remember what exact episode, but it's there on the actual anime forums. As Izuku would have just launched himself to the exit of the actual main entrance of the actual sports festival arena until they heard, "First place goes to Elizabeth." Well, I can't remember her last name, so you guys have to make do. If you guys are actual 7 Deadly Sins fans, please comment her name in the comment section down below, like her last name. I'm gonna get bloody roasted in the comment section, aren't I? Please forgive me, comment section. Alright, let's begin our story once more. As Izuku was launching himself through and through until he finally got to the exit or the entrance of the actual sports festival arena. "Second place goes to Izuku Midoriya!" the announcer said, screaming his lungs out, this being Present Mike. As let's cut to the point of view of Bakugo and Todoroki being neck and neck during it. As Todoroki threw most ice attacks through to Bakugo, as Bakugo tried to invade them, but he was hit by one of them, with Todoroki getting the lead. But the moment he got to the exit, near to the actual entrance of the sports festival arena, Bakugo overtook him by just a millisecond, getting himself 3rd place, with Todoroki getting 4th. As Todoroki, before he hit the finish line, he put a wall of ice behind him to actually make the other contenders struggle to actually get in. I know, dick move, I guess. As a couple of minutes later, as everyone else actually came through the arena door, as the second event would begin with all the cavalry battle. As for all the teams, they would stay like canon, but Uraka wouldn't be on Izuku's team for plot convenience. I would say Uraka might not be in Class 1A, but she could be at the same time. You guys can decide that because I haven't put her into the characters yet. Minetta's in and everyone else. I'm thinking about taking out Uraka and replacing her with actual other people as well. Just for because I haven't actually done her point of view yet, so I want you guys to decide if I could keep her in or not. So let's begin again. As for who would be on Izuku's team, you may ask. It'll be same like canon, but instead of Uraka, it'll be Elizabeth. As everyone else would have gone to their same teams like canon, and let's begin the actual arena. As Izuku and everyone else was both getting into their respective points of views, Izuku being on top with Elizabeth being on the back for support of her wings, as Mei would have actually used her rocket boots at the start to actually launch themselves into the air, with Elizabeth having the 1 million point band and Izuku having the 2nd place point band of 100,000, let's just say. As Izuku was evading and invading every single attack he could actually avoid, as most people are actually getting to Izuku, but the moment Izuku did, however, Izuku used his wind pressure he learned by using the glove style early, launching little air bullets right at them, flicking his finger just like nothing. Like it was just mounts of air coming off of Izuku's hands. As the moment the wind compacted with those people, they were sent flying little bits of feet back. As Izuku hit the ground, however, he didn't. As Elizabeth activated her wings and activated light reflection to actually use that to her advantage, as little particles of light came flashing down, blinding the people below, as Elizabeth would have just shouted, "Ark!" She shouted, sorry for the ear rape, as light reflectionable arrows came flying down, knocking some people back quite a hefty bit, but not injuring them in the slightest. Just remember, these are arrows, so they can impale people. as the end of the actual arena battle would have ended, with only the person who had lost their headband on Izuku's team being Izuku losing his 100,000 headband. If I've got the points wrong and everything, please tell me in the comment section down below. I'm starting to slowly lose my grip on the series a little tiny bit. Sorry about that, boys. As Izuku and Elizabeth both sat in the actual changing rooms talking and actually taking a little break for a couple of hours until the final event committed. As President Mike would have came down and said, "Round 3 will be commencing very, very soon. So please, everyone and every student, get ready!" President Mike said, shouting through the Matacombs. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Sorry for the ear rape as well. As everyone came down and got into the respective areas, with everyone getting the same things like canon. But instead of Uraka fighting Bakugo, it's Elizabeth fighting Bakugo. This is gonna go well. As Izuku would fight Shinso. Shinso would have been knocked out. There's literally no point in me just saying literally Shinso would just get knocked out. He would have got the Eye of Aizawa, however, because, you know, canon plot. As Izuku would have just done the same things like canon, but the moment he started fighting Todoroki, he had to bump his percentage up to 30%. As Izuku threw smashes upon smashes at Todoroki's eyes, breaking them in the process. As Izuku would have just tried to evade Todoroki, but the moment ice came at Izuku had to charge up more and more percentages because Todoroki keeps on making it denser. As Izuku finally had enough. "Why don't you use your other quirk? It'll make it more sense than one instead of just using half-witted your power, Todoroki!" Izuku shouted at him, trying to get his attention, but failing. "I'm not using that goddamn bastard's power!" Todoroki said, shouting at Midoriya. "It's not his power, it's yours, Todoroki," he said, as Todoroki would have got his flashback like canon. As Todoroki erupted into fire and blazing red, as Todoroki's heat would have surrounded the actual arena. You can even toast marshmallows on his heat. As the same thing like canon would have happened with Todoroki's special move. But without Izuku using 100%, Izuku would have used 30, with the same destruction happening like canon, with Cementos actually surrounding the mented areas, and actually surrounding areas in actual concrete to make sure all the audience was okay. As Izuku and Todoroki both arrived out of there with a bunch of scratches and bruises, but Todoroki had it the worst, with one broken arm and one fractured rib. But it was still healed by Recovery Girl the moment Todoroki went into there. He just rested. As the rest of the rounds would have stayed the same. But this is where our story actually changes, with the fight with Elizabeth and Bakugo. With that fight, I would see Bakugo gaining a hand in the battle, but because of Elizabeth's refraction of light, I would think not. Literally, Bakugo's ass would have been fucking whooped. Nonetheless, as the arrows would have came down on Bakugo's head, crushing, almost killing him, but really didn't actually. As Elizabeth would have won. As for the rest of the recovery battle, everything would have gone like normal. Kurashima would have lost against Tetsu, and then he would have lost against Elizabeth. But when the moment it came, Izuku and Elizabeth in the final round, this when it gets interesting. Because Izuku's almost on the same power level as Elizabeth right now. But if he activates 100%, then he'll be on even ass with her. But he didn't want to hurt her, so Izuku stick to 30. Izuku started to say, "You ready, Elizabeth?" Izuku said. "Ready as I'll ever be, Izuku," she said. Izuku and her both got into fighting stances as President Mike shouted "Go!" As Izuku and her both rushed at each other. Izuku disappeared from vision of view, same with her, as they both clashed and clashed and clashed until the last clink. As the last clink was heard, Izuku was flying all the way down the actual main areas, as he hit the ground with a loud thud, making clouds of dust surround the areas. As Izuku managed to get up from his surrounding area. At the moment Izuku got up, he could feel one of his ribs starting to crack. "Damn it, Elizabeth, that hurt," Izuku said, quietly. As Izuku got up from his imaginable pain, as Izuku was standing on his own 2 feet, until Elizabeth came to a haymaker, but Izuku managed to dodge it just in time. The moment Izuku dodged it, Izuku threw a left kick to Elizabeth's long jaw as it connected, sending Elizabeth flying back a little bit of feet, but still not knocking her out for the count. As Elizabeth charged back to Izuku with arc in hand, and Izuku with his 50% smash. Arc smash! As they both collide, creating dust clouds upon dust clouds surrounding the area. As President Mike would have just said, "Who is left standing? You guys decide," President Mike shouted. As President Mike would have noticed, "Elizabeth wins!" Elizabeth Mike shouted surprisingly, as everyone would have cheered as Izuku was just flung out the ring, with one broken rib, 2 fractured arms, and a concussion, as Izuku was rushed to the hospital, or recovery girl's office, let's just say that, as Elizabeth was just sitting in the bed as well, waiting for Izuku just to wake up. As Izuku woke up to see Elizabeth just standing there with her medal in hand. "Look, Izuku, I won," she said, smiling, as Izuku gave her a little smile, saying, "That's so cool, Elizabeth," Izuku said, trying to get as much words out as he could at that very moment in time. As Izuku was about to get up before he felt something heavy around his neck. "Well, you couldn't actually come to the ceremony, but this is your medal," she said, handing Izuku his medal. "Thank you, Elizabeth," Izuku said, as he patted her on the head. "That feels nice," she said, as Izuku and her went home that day, surprising that they actually got it. As the next day arrived, as they all went into class, as Aizawa showed everyone their apprenticeship forms, Izuku managed to get 5,000 in his timeline, with Elizabeth getting a whopping 7,000, some coming from America as well, which surprised them a lot, as Izuku and everyone else would have actually picked their internships, as Izuku would have actually picked for. Did you say you picked Gran Torino just like Canon for persistently's sake? As Gran Torino would have taught him everything like Canon, but without one for all spreading throughout his entire body, because Izuku would have already known that. As this is where our story changes. As Izuku was going out with Gran Torino, the Nomu attacked, but instead of Gran Torino hitting it, Izuku would have surpassed Gran Torino and hit the Nomu full force, bursting the Nomu's head into little tiny pieces outside the walks. As the moment the Nomu would have tried to regenerate, but it just walked around like a working corpse, Gran Torino hit it back, making it fully dead on the floor. As Gran Torino told Izuku to get everyone out of here now, as Izuku would have complied, saying that, "Okay, Gran Torino, let's go." As everything would have gone like Canon until the Stain bit. Izuku arrived at Stain's location to see Ida on the floor bleeding out. As Izuku rushed over to Ida and smashed Stain's head off of Ida, blasting him back. "I will not let you hurt my friend," Izuku said, shouting at Stain. "Another fake wannabe here, I see," Stain said, putting his knife to his tongue, making Stain more interesting into Izuku. God, this makes it sound like in the pedophile territory. As Izuku would have dodged Stain's attacks or upcoming attacks, Izuku dodged every single one until one finally struck, as Izuku hit Stain accidentally with a 50% punch, destroying little bits of building debris, but Izuku managed to keep the air pressure in, but blew off Stain's left arm accidentally, making Stain drop to the floor while he was bleeding out. As Stain was have actually tried to move his body even more, but still, Stain was in so much pain he couldn't move a single bit. As Stain would have moved a slight bit to try and escape, but was blasted by flames by Endeavor. As Stain hit the floor, lifeless, but he was still not dead. As this is where we're going to leave the video off, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys would actually like the next part, please get this video to 400 likes. You guys get the next part as soon as possible. And also, please make sure you join our Discord server, because we're so close to 400 followers on there, or 400 people. Thanks for watching, and goodbye. From the dark side, 'cause anybody here wanna be alive.
me.